Shy Creatures is the latest literary fiction novel by Clare Chambers. It follows an art therapist and one of her patients in multiple aspects of their lives. So, should you shy away from this one, or is it a winner? Hi, I'm Amanda, and this is Spineless Books, your one-stop spoiler-free shop for all things audiobook. I first learned about Shy Creatures from Clare Chambers from an Instagram account from One Tree Books, a quaint little bookstore in England that posts their top sellers every week. It seemed intriguing to me based on the one-sentence synopsis, and I put it on hold and I started it as soon as I got it from the library. The book follows Helen, an art therapist living in England in the 1960s. Now, as many of you know, much of the psychiatry and psychology that we know today was not yet established in the 1960s. Things were beginning to shift, but they hadn't shifted yet. So our awareness of mental health issues was very different than it is today. Helen is in the middle of an affair with a married doctor. Now, you know the time-old story. He's going to leave his wife, he just can't leave her yet. He's not going to leave his wife. And Helen is at a crossroads in her relationship where she's sort of just getting to the point that she's figuring this out. It's a pretty pivotal moment in her personal life, and it's also when she meets William. William is a mute 37-year-old man who's been living in a derelict house with his aunts. He's been denied socialization, denied schooling, and denied basically just interactions with anything normal that an adult would experience. And he's found one day when the psychiatry hospital receives a call, and really there's not a lot going for him. He doesn't speak, however, he is an artist, and that's where Helen comes in. The book, interestingly enough, does not have a strong arc, in my opinion. However, the character development and the situations that the characters are in and how they think through them and react is really, really well developed. I think this is a master character study, and even though there wasn't a ton of action in the story, I found myself really, really intrigued by the writing. Clare Chambers weaves beautiful portraits of her characters, flaws and all. The characters felt like people that I could run into on the street or people that maybe I'd be friends with. So it was interesting to hear how relatable they were in a story that really was kind of simple. The book was narrated by Lucy Scott, who there were a few moments that I felt like maybe she was a little too intense for the story. But she didn't really narrate with intense inflection like many narrators do. And I think that interestingly added to the feeling that Helen is a regular person. She didn't over-voice the characters, and the fact that she did that really did make them feel like regular people. There are going to be characters that you like and characters that you dislike, but Lucy Scott portrays them all with subtlety. I would love to have read this book with a book club. I haven't had that opportunity yet, but I think there's a lot to discuss about the subtle decisions that people make and how they have impact in their lives. Sometimes the smallest decision can make a huge impact, or a tiny event can turn into a huge event. You really don't know as you're going through something what's going to become pivotal later and what's not. I mean, granted, sometimes we know something is pivotal as it's happening, but that's not always the case. And that's kind of what this story is about. It's the way that these tiny decisions impact our lives, for the better or for the worse. I think the story was really nuanced, and it really hooked me as a reader. I think this is one that might slip by for a lot of people, but there's something really special about this book. If you like books, for example, like The Correspondent by Virginia Evans, I think you'd really like this one too. It's very different, but similarly to that book, you're learning a character as they go, and I think it was extremely well done. It's not an epistolary style book like The Correspondent, but it does slowly give you information about characters so that you get a fuller picture of who they are, just like The Correspondent. The tone and the mood of this book is very different, but it has fantastic character development and really beautiful prose. I think Clare Chambers is excellent, and I was really impressed by this book, even though I felt like it was sort of a slow burn and snuck up on me a little bit. Chambers has written a lot of books, and I think she's going to be an author that I seek out in the future. I gave this book a 4 out of 5, but I really liked her writing. To me, the mark of a good book is how long it stays with you after you've read it. What do you take away from it, and what do you remember long term? For this one, it's not the plot for me, but it is the beautiful character development and the way that the characters interacted and just their humanity, and that really says something. I think if you're looking for something that's subtle and well-crafted and not really very melodramatic, this might be a great pick for you. It is initially based on a true story. Clare Chambers heard the story of a man who was basically discovered in adulthood, having not had interaction with the outside world, but she chose to write a very different outcome for his life than the real story. So it's fictionalized for sure, but it is fair to say it's based on a true story, at least a little bit. I think this may be one you haven't heard of, but I do think it's really worth your time. But remember, you might love what I hate and hate what I love, so make your own opinion. But thanks for listening to mine. See you next time.